But this has come from David Ornstein that City are now pursuing a deal to sign Ait-Nouri from Wolverhampton Wanderers. The agreement still needs to be reached with Wolves and the Algerian international, but all parties now expect the move to happen. It's a good bit of business for City.
Annoying. I'm a big fan of Ait-Nouri, and I've always said I feel like Man United should go for a left wing back because we know Dorgu can play right wing back. I still feel like we need a wing back, and I said, Kirkes or Ait-Nouri would be great. Premier League proven. A bit of depth at wing backs really key. We don't have depth to Dorgu. I mean, Harry Hamas is technically depth, but he's a kid, and I have a feeling Man United aren't going to sign a wing back. But it's annoying to see that Frimpong's gone, that Kirkes is probably going to go, and then so if Kirkes goes, I was like, all right, it's fine. Ait-Nouri can play in the system, can play with Cunha on the left. So like in a jealousy way, yeah, I don't like the idea of Ait-Nouri going to City, but look, it's a good deal. It's a good bit of business. I think he's only got 1 or 2 years left on his contract, so it's not like Wolves can ask for a ridiculous amount. And look, City, they need to rebuild. They need, the fullbacks. They need a goalkeeper. They need obviously Reinders. Probably going to bring Cherky, probably another player. The problem with City is they'll spend smart. They're not like Man United, who can have an off season, spend 200 million and still be rubbish. City are going to have an off season, spend 300 million and they're probably going to be good next season, which is annoying.
Yeah. Do you expect them to be the biggest challengers next year, Jamie, to your title?
I think, to be honest, I think if you had asked me like a month ago before maybe the signings Liverpool were making, I would have said yeah. I think I don't know. I think the one thing with City, Alice, I probably disagree with you slightly in terms of the signings. I think maybe some of their bigger signings in the last few years when they've been at the top, they maybe haven't come in. I think Marmouche has been a good signing so far. But I look at some of the other areas where like they just bringing Gundogan back was like a strange move in a sense. I think they signed I can't remember his name now, the centre back. He came in, he's done okay.
Yeah,
he's been okay. Do you know what I mean? They're playing your man from Wolves. I can't remember his name as well now. And the right back,
Nunes.
Yeah, Nunes. So they're playing him at right back now, and I just think there's areas within the team where they just haven't filled, or they've brought in players to fill that position and it hasn't worked out. I think like John Stones is obviously someone that there's been talk about him leaving. Ederson's leaving. Walker's obviously on loan at Milan. So there's a lot of areas in that Man City team that are maybe they have to fill. Obviously De Bruyne is gone now as well. So I would probably look at it if Arsenal went out and signed Gyökeres. I'd probably look at them more as a threat than I would City right now. But I think with Guardiola there, like the Rodri will be coming back, they definitely are going to be in the mix. You know what I mean? I think right now it's probably 33% to each team, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting title race next year, I think. We've got to wait and see what everybody does in the window. But, I mean, Zubimendi's pretty much done to Arsenal, which I think is brilliant business. Liverpool, it's been discussed a lot on this platform, and I imagine Wirtz will happen. I mean, again, if it doesn't, moves may change. But City, Nouri, they're going to get Cherky as well, aren't they? And they're going to get him for about £25 million. That's a sickening bit about that. But then again, you're in that privileged position. You'll get a lot of United fans go, what's Ineos doing? At the same time, they're the same Man United fans that go, we ain't got any pool left. Well, yeah, you're right. That's why they're not landing all these players. It's not as simple as just going out and getting what you want. It's going to take time. But yeah, listen, it's going to be massive. I think it's going to be a huge summer of spending. And yeah, those three for me. But Chelsea are one to watch as well, I think. I really think Chelsea, if they get themselves a goal scorer, I'm not saying they'll win the league, but I think they could really be in that race for a period of time. They got themselves on to the periphery of it in December and then just fell away. And I look at the lap, I look at the links to Ekitike, and there's a lot of strong reports. I'm looking at a Chelsea feed I follow here with Simon Phillips, and there's so many updates on it this morning where the player wants to move, he wants to get there. And if these players click, but yeah, City, yeah, they're moving crazy. A lot of City fans think they're going to spend about £300 million this summer. They're going to go near 300 million, which means in 2025 they'll have spent £500 million on that squad. It's crazy.
Pressure will be on Pep,
Yeah.
If he's far behind, the pressure's got to be on.
Yeah, 100%. I think as well, there's a lot of, social media question saying Pep has never like been at the top and then rebuilt the team to go on again, because he usually obviously he's never been at a club this long. But yeah, I think he needs to get these signings right. Do you know what I mean? They can't afford another season where like they're struggling. I think Rodri coming back, he's going to be big. Do you know what I mean? He's going to add so much to that team. So much of City's play goes through him. I think Haaland's obviously picked up a good few injuries this year, and I think if he's back, like I know he's what he get 22 goals or whatever in the league, but like he's getting you 30 goals at least if he's fully fit for the whole season. So yeah, I think it's just with Pep there, they'll always be a threat. You know what I mean? I think Arsenal as well. The thing with them is they haven't got over the line yet, so like that'll be in the back of their heads. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like I think depending on how they start as well, the start of the season, because I think Arsenal didn't start the best. Man City obviously tanked a little bit, like midway coming up to December. So I think Liverpool just they got a run going, and then they were able to just like capitalize on that and like continue with like throughout to close out the end of the season. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think this summer is going to be crazy for signings. It's going to be very, very strange.
I agree. Alex, you mentioned the pressure on Pep, and there is pressure because there's this talk that when he first came into City, he rebuilt them, and he added I felt he added players to a very good team. That was always my view. The last 12 months, there's been a lot of narrative saying he rebuilt that side. I'd have to go back and look at it, but I felt he just kept on adding quality to a brilliant team. And what I always look at a manager having a rebuild is when you see a team kind of age out the way this one has done, coupled with bad signings. If you're always adding good new players and the team just continues, I don't ever look at it as a rebuild. You just, because every club signs 4 or 5 players every year. Rebuilds typically happen when players, a group of players age out quickly and you don't expect them to, like City this year. And when you've had a couple of years of bad recruitment and suddenly your squad isn't good enough. I don't feel like this happened to Pep at any time in his career, as far as I remember. So there is massive pressure. Do you think he's going to handle it if they don't start well?
Oh, I don't know, because his head went a little bit last season when they were like losing like 12 out of 14 games or something like that. His head just went. He couldn't handle it. It's a difficult one because I always think even if you're at Man City, you don't get the same level of pressure as Liverpool or Man United or Arsenal. They don't have the media on them like the other clubs, so you can sort of afford to get away with it. Like, especially when they've been good, like how we spoke about Jack Grealish got away with so much, but like Marcus Rashford, like the difference in hate towards players is crazy when Rashford's still been better the last 2 seasons despite not being at his best. But I also think if City have another bad season, then the narrative might turn on City where, you know, they're winning the leagues and all of that. I just think the way I look at it is you spent nearly 200 million in January. They're looking at spending 300 million this summer. Like they do have to hit the ground running. If Liverpool and Arsenal are comfortably ahead or Liverpool are comfortably ahead, you know, yes, Liverpool have won the league and maybe brought in Wirtz and all of that, but you will have to look at Pep and say, you know, there's a lot of money that's been spent. You know, they have the best recruitment normally, City, in the past in terms of less. When I say recruitment, I mean more of the sense of they always go, if they need to buy a player, they'll go out and buy them. Sometimes you'll see Liverpool not do anything one window, or sometimes you'll see Man United buy crap one window. City normally give the manager what he wants and all the tools that he needs to succeed. So I think it all depends where Pep's sitting, you know, 2 months into next season. I think they'll be all right. Rodri coming back, Haaland being fit is a big difference. The new signings coming in. I also think in January, some of them were panic buys, like the centre back. If you know who's available in the summer is a lot more than in January. But it'll be interesting to see how they do next season.
Yeah, I think with Guardiola as well, he's not naturally a good starter at like the start of leagues. He usually like builds up towards the end of the season where like it really needs to like get stuff over the line. He doesn't usually like just his style of play. He doesn't usually like push the team too much at the start because he wants to obviously to be good for the run-in. So I think he maybe has to diverge a little bit from that this year, because if he does go and spend 500 million in 6 months, then teams or the media and fans will be a little bit on him to say like this isn't good enough. Do you know what I mean? Even with all the stuff that he has done before.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think I never slag Pep off. I never do the checkbook manager nonsense.
Yeah.
I don't like that. As much as I know banter's a really important part of what we all do for a job. I'm sure I think this is both your jobs now. Or a big part of your life anyway. And banter is part of it. I think it's I've been thinking about this a lot the last 6 months. Like, why don't I enjoy the football banter anymore? And it's because I think of the talk sports of this world, who kind of take football fan banter and have created real serious talking points to a stage now where people start having these debates like they're real, if that makes sense. Like and as a United fan, I'm very sensitive to it. The amount of times I've heard professional pundits say, did Fergie actually influence football in any positive ways? When you hear those kind of debates happening, I get it in a space. Hosted by Liverpool and Chelsea and Arsenal fans. They're going to dig us out. I can handle it. I hear the mainstream media talk about it, and you think, are you kidding me? Are you absolutely kidding me when you're saying these things? So I'm a bit bored of the banter. That being said, it's always fun to do. I won't do any of that to Pep. I won't try and diminish what he's achieved. I think he's one of the greatest managers of all time. But I'm so intrigued to watch how they start next year, how this recruitment goes, and if they don't get a good start, if they are losing some games, if Nouri and Cherki come in and they're more like Jack Grealish than they are Haaland, I'm looking at him. I felt the way he was behaving in that bad run of 13 games, scratching his head, spitting on camera. That for me is not a good look. And he got away with it for 2 reasons. One, he's got so much credit in the bank. Secondly, they've won so much recently. I think if Arteta starts doing that next season, if Slot starts doing that, if you guys are 5th, 10 games in and Slot's doing that, you watch the onslaught from the press be absolutely damning. Yeah. I'm not sure he will get 2 seasons running with that grace. I think it's 2 seasons running, and there'll be a lot of questions about him, his ability to rebuild. And rebuilding's always been one of those kind of ticks that he's not had in his box. Jose obviously went to teams like Porto, teams like Inter Milan, and took them from where they were to winning kind of trebles and Champions Leagues. Sir Alex rebuilt 2 clubs, one in Aberdeen, one in Manchester United, and there was something, and did it over 25 years. If he is able to rebuild this team that failed last season, it's a massive feather in his cap. If it goes the other way, it's a thumb in the eye for the debates around who the GOATs are. So listen, as a United fan, I hope they tank like you wouldn't believe after dropping £500 million, because when it comes to those legacy debates, it's going to go against him. I absolutely hope it goes wrong, but it's going to be I think it's a real nice subplot ahead of next season. How will City's rebuild go? And their fans won't like what I'm saying, but to be honest with you, I don't care, because I'm a Man United fan and I don't want Pep to rebuild this team, win 2 or 3 more Premier Leagues, stay on longer, do another treble, because he might surpass my greatest manager's legacy. And what self-respecting Man United fan wants that? Every Champions League final that Man United lost, Liverpool fans didn't celebrate because we didn't win that league. It's because they didn't want him getting 3 like Paisley. Like, this is what it was about. So it's very, very normal. And I know you guys are only new to the elite end of the spectrum, but get with the party, get with the program, people.
The 115 charges as well, I think it'll be interesting, because what impact that'll have. Obviously, if they're clear, then they're fine. But if there's like even a hint of them getting reprimanded for any of those charges, then I think that might have an impact on like the questions that are thrown at them in the media, being like, oh, well, you were found guilty of this, like you got this charge, whatever it is. But yeah, I think that's obviously been delayed, I think, like by like 3 months, the verdict. So I think that might start to come out maybe in the summer, or like maybe in the middle of the season next year. Like, so that might have an impact on how we progress through the season.
Well, it does. I mean, if they're found guilty of everything, I know he said he'll stay, but he's leaving.
Chad, playing a league too.
Leaving.
The Johnson Payne Trophy.
100% he'd be leaving if they're guilty of all of it. There's no doubt. We've got some super chats here.